Good morning. This is Desiree Dubois, founder of An Empowered Woman and Homework. Homework is where you can live where you work, work where you live, anywhere in the world. And every Wednesday morning, we meet amongst friends, women professionals, and entrepreneurs who share their passions, their projects, and their businesses. And so today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Randy Winter, who is the co-founder and facilitator for P2P, as well as travel agency, a travel company. Is it P to passion to purpose?
P2P life.
P to P life. Okay. And she's going to share with us one, what P to P is, and explain with us more about how to live that life, how to play out loud in that way, and to be able to incorporate it in all different areas, our business, our homes, our families, and with our travel. So good morning, Randy. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Great. And I'm just going to apologize in advance. They just started drilling over my head. So if you hear some weird noises and I disappear, I'm going to have to grab other headsets and move to a different computer and move to an iPad or something. So I will give you notice, but this is really a huge honor for me. I have been getting Desiree's emails and I think I've dropped in a few times and it always looks interesting. And yesterday I literally dropped in for the first time. And I guess thank you for considering that what I said was of value. And I was invited to be a stand-in or a relief pitcher, so to speak, at the ninth inning. So anyway, thank you guys for totally for joining me. I just will give you a little quick background. Normally, my hair is about 7 colors. This is my COVID. I've never seen this color hair before. It went to blonde. And if you look at any of my profiles, you'll see I am a very multifaceted, multicolored, very diverse person. When people say, what do you do? I usually say, well, which color hair did you like? And from that, I would just decide what I was going to tell them what I do. Because in this world, everybody tells us that we should have a niche and stick to it and drill down. But I'm a New Yorker who promised my mom that I would never lose my New York pizzazz. My hallway has plaques with giant big apples. So every time I walk from one room to the other, I can't forget and I honor my mom's request. And I think Barbara knows me well enough to know that passion and pizzazz are probably my two P2Ps. And that's how P2P started. I've been in the travel industry for about 40 years, very involved in philanthropy. We have a 501(c) for type 1 diabetes. I have 2 type 1 diabetic grandchildren, and we created a foundation called diabetesandme.org. My daughter runs it, and we've written and published a book called Team Helping. And so it's online in diabetesandme.org. Anybody can access it. But also if you buy a book, one book gets donated to a hospital. So we're like a Tom Shoe type of a project. Also, we run a 24/7 Facebook group called Poked, Parents of Kids Enduring Diabetes. And it's a closed group. And anybody can ask anything. It's an amazing community. It was singled out by Facebook in its first year to come down as one of the most active communities, even though they can't see what it is because it's closed, because of the amount of engagement that they have, which, as you can imagine, is a really big thing. And we also run a type 1 symposium that's online on request. So that passion is always, and purpose to me are always really combined. And I think that that's the way to lead the most authentic life and being open. I think that's really important. So for many, many years, my company was Passionate Travel. As I said, passion was super important to me. But I met somebody and it was one of those if it was like, you know, across a crowded room, we were actually taking a hosting course for being able to lead cruises. And we were on either side of the teacher, but we could sort of feel each other. And we started to talk, and I said type 1 diabetes, and she said, oh, I organize all of the events in Ontario for type 1 diabetes and whatever. And it was just meant to be. It took about a year or so, and just before the pandemic, we combined our companies, and she had an LLC called Plan to Perfection, and her travel division was Paradise to Perfection. So hence the P2P. We created an umbrella, a lifestyle umbrella, and it is travel, but it embraces travel with a cause, cruise with a cause, P2P weddings, P2P events. We have P2P Life Media, sorry, P2P Life Media, and we are all accessibly trained ambassadors for people with special needs. We're creating a whole questionnaire to go out to the entire tourism industry for people to be able to be, you know, for hotels, and we're doing ground operators for them, private jets, to be able to create more awareness. Most people think of mobility as the big accessibility issue, and it's the most obvious if you're with a walker or you're, you know, or in a wheelchair. But there are so many more, including autism, which requires its own special things that you might want to be able to have and not bring with you, oxygen, all those kinds of things. So really we've created this umbrella where we've created a media branch. I've been writing for LuxBeat magazine. I freelance, I write and guest column for a lot of places. And I'm a big champion for other people. And I guess a New Yorker in me gives some pithy sayings, which is how I'm here. So, and feel free to ask me any questions. And back to you, Desiree.
Well, let's start with the first one. Why everyone used to want to just have their expectations met. What did you mean by that?
That's really a core principle with being part of the internet age. You know, it used to be when people would say, oh my gosh, I got everything I asked for, you know, I got everything I expected. The cereal tasted the way that I expected it to. You know, I went on the trip and I came home and I had a good time, and that was great. You know, so that was the original wow. We're really talking about wow. Everything in life should be wow, not just wow, but with an exclamation point. Before and after. And that's part of what I want to explain to you. So before the internet, people relied on experts to be able to help them to do something. And we as travel specialists, for example, we were not automated. All the airline tickets were written by hand, and we had these really thick books, and we were on the phone on hold all the time. Not that we're not anymore, but so that was the big wow at that point was, I got my money's worth. You know, how many times did people say, that was great, I really got my money's worth? Well, once the internet came and search and research became egalitarian, that you could become Dr. Google, you could become the most knowledgeable person about a certain kind of fish that you can only see in Saudi Arabia in the Red Sea. You know, you can become more expert than any expert could possibly be in a niche. But so then what happened was, it moved to, that bar moved from I got my money's worth to, wow, that really exceeded my expectations. You know, I got more than my money's worth. I got more than I could have thought that I could have gotten. So the trip could have really I got to try something for the first time that I didn't know existed, or I got to have dinner, you know, it with a royal family or whatever it is, or I got to volunteer and work with children in Kenya, or I got to meet the Pachamamas. So that's about privilege that we are, that we can offer. And that was great. But as the internet became what it is and people became even more expert, hi Jenny, what happened was we had to move the bar. We no longer had to focus on the after. We had to concentrate on really knowing our clients, knowing who we are, knowing who they are, having a relationship that is more than transactional, to be able to understand the vocabulary that they're missing and to know them better than themselves. That is to use our vocabulary, our expertise in order to be able to anticipate. So the magic sauce now is your ability to anticipate what others need and want before they even know what it is. And that's really now, that's the it factor. I can call and say, oh my gosh, I know that you love Bocelli. He's doing a charity foundation event at his home and after a concert, and I know you love him. I have access to be able to get tickets for this event and to have dinner at his home. And this is how much it costs. And this much is a donation to his charitable foundation. Are you interested? So what would you say? You would say, oh my God, Bocelli, you can get me to Bocelli? That is where the wow factor is now. People really respect that you have taken the time and effort, because time is our only real non-renewable resource, and able to anticipate on behalf of them what they might not even know what they want. So does that help you to, understand why I feel that we keep moving the bar? Normally we move it forward, but in this case, we're actually moving the bar back. That's what the movies are doing now, right? They've told a million stories and now they're going back and creating prequels, which was when they were little kids. I mean, they're desperate to make another movie, but it's the same principle. There's this body of information, but nobody knows who he was when he was a little child. And in the same way, only somebody who really cares about you would take the time to know enough about you to be able to share a gift of vocabulary and putting that vocabulary in context. Because if I say the word chartreuse, you don't know if I'm talking about a drink or a color. So it's all about also giving context around everything that you're saying. So that's why normally the bar goes up. In this case, we're taking time and bringing it almost back to root desires. And that's where you relate heart to heart.
So that example was a beautiful example of being able to actually present something, because it's not a sale. You're actually sharing an opportunity, which is what we are strong advocates of. Unfortunately, now, a lot of the times a lot of the different companies, you don't even have the opportunity to speak to them. Unfortunately, a lot of the services that you use, they have no voice. It's all chat, it's all email and so forth like that. So that eliminates that. I agree with you 100%. I'm on the phones. I want to speak to people. I still want to talk to people. I still distribute my phone number. It's my cell number, because I want to develop those relationships. So that's how I feel that one can differentiate their business and their services by just offering that accessibility. And then that way, with that accessibility and that one conversation, you're able to act and do what you're referring to. You're able to tap into what their likes are, what their likes are, and be able to offer them something that way. Is that how you see it? How would you recommend us being able to create those kind of contacts or those, Bocelli moments with somebody other than being able to speak to them?
Well, I think there's two corollaries to that. One is that travel is the only thing that you actually deliberately spend money on, and you actually become richer. When most people think about money as a transaction and they're spending it, they no longer have it. But with travel, travel is so much more than the word itself. It's so, I mean, you hear all these things. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So travel makes us richer. Literally, it opens our eyes, it opens our minds. When people from I always tell people, if they're on a cruise to Alaska, for example, I say, stand next to somebody who's either really young or somebody who's from the Midwest, who's never seen a bald eagle, who's never seen mountains this high with the snow, who's never seen these things, and see them through their eyes. That's a real gift, to be able to be not so jaded, to be able to see through someone else's eyes is truly a gift. That's why I love, love, love multi-gen travel, because it's a situation where all the generations get to have experiences that one of them may have been an expert in, and one may be an expert in cooking, and one may have been to Alaska 20,000 times, because they love to cruise up the West Coast and they don't want to fly. I have lots of clients who, anywhere I can go, although this was a bad example because of now, but I had clients who say, anywhere I can go that I don't need a shot, or anywhere I can go that I don't need to get on an airplane, or I will only fly 4 hours. So, but with multi-gen travel, it gives us an opportunity to, again, I sound like I'm a cliche maker, but it's not really. I tell families, especially people of our age, give with a warm hand and not with a cold. And that means that experience, what you can share with these people, will never be taken away from your grandchildren, whether they're 5 years old or 15 years old. Don't wait and give them an inheritance. Give them the inheritance of you. And that is really priceless. So that's why I think that it's really, I think it's really so important to be able to do that. And multi-gen is probably one of the hottest areas of travel. After COVID, the idea that we haven't seen people in a long time, people have lots of different bucket lists, but seeing your family and doing something together, rejoicing in the newness and of sharing. I mean, after this and the is over, what kind of a life experience can you give, which is a gift? Our hashtag is travel dreams to memories. And I think that really sort of says it all.
So you also are involved with travel with the cause, like cruises with the cause and so forth, to fill the philanthropic part of it. How does that work? Do people come to you from the nonprofits and say, this is what I want to do and accomplish? Or do you have cruises already set that satisfy them?
So I have to say that we were a little derailed. I mean, this has been part of what I do and my partner Camille does all the time. Anyway, we're super involved with charities. So like a charity may come to us and say, we want to go, like we're supporting a charity and with the Pachamamas in Ecuador or whatever, and we have access. So then we will plan that trip, and then it's up to the charity to say, we're going to build in X amount to for the cost of the trip. Or they may say, in some cases, they'll say, we just want families, we want to bring families that have family trusts. So we're not asking them for money up front. We want them to understand on a generational basis why this would be a good fit for the philanthropy and the legacy of that family. Then what we have done, which is very unique, is I've created a category called collaborative experts. So we have a husband and wife photographer. He's got 60 underwater dive covers, for example. He pioneered cold water diving. So he's a member of 3 of the National Geographic Society of Canada and the American and British Explorers Club. So they're very unique people. They're very rigorous criteria to be able to get in. So he's taking a dive trip to the Philippines. So he'll be teaching about it. He'll be teaching photography as well. And you'll get an opportunity to be with these people. That's what made, a lot of cruises so appealing. I met Tony Bennett. We had a great conversation. Where would I meet him except like on a cruise ship or in Clubhouse, maybe, but I mean, on a face-to-face basis. And, where else in the world would he turn to us and he say, I love doing this. And they only let me perform once. I perform every day for them. They gave me this really nice suite, and why don't they let me perform more? It's what I do. It's what I love to do. So you get these opportunities to be with other people. And this is what I call the surprise and delight factor. Like-minded people have common interests. And for better or worse, sometimes it might be an illness, that brings people together, like type 1 diabetes or MS or, whatever it is. And so that could be a like-minded group that would travel with a cause, so that we would have concierge overlays, all the equipment when they arrived, say on the cruise, all the equipment that they would need, they might not bring their power motor scooter, or they might not bring, or they might need a bed wedge or whatever, or they may be deaf and they need TTY, or they're in a wheelchair and they really want to go to the beach, but you can't use your wheelchair on the beach. So there's something called Joy on the Beach, and it looks like a giant chaise lounge, but it has these giant plastic balloon tires that is able to go to the beach. So in my business, no is not an option unless the government says so.
So I know that we used to, an Empowered Woman, we used to do mission trips every year, at least every couple of years, going to places like Haiti after the problem they had there, to Brazil. And so someone would set up the trip and a group of us would go and we'd bring things. Like we brought to Brazil, we brought clothes and school supplies. We were going to orphanages. And we were going to orphanages because a lot of the girls there, if you didn't have money to buy a uniform, they didn't send you to school. So if you wind up being home all day, then they were subject to sexual harassment and so they would take them instead to go to this orphanage during the day. So we went there, we got computers and things of that type. And it was really, really great because of the fact, like you said, we would have X amount of dollars that was dedicated towards the expense of the travel, but then X amount of dollars built in so we'd be able to do these things while we got there. And I personally love cruises. I would love to do like a cruise for a cause. How would that look? How would we create something like that? I've done cruises for my birthday parties. I'm going to do a cruise for my wedding. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I'll actually be married 50 years this summer.
Oh my gosh.
Before we go on, can Jenny introduce herself? I don't know if there are a few other people that added themselves, so maybe we should just introduce, because we do have a few total newbies who were so kind to come on in like 10 minutes notice. And I appreciate all of you.
Thank you, Randy, for your, invitation. I just came in sort of halfway through your conversation there, and totally related to, creating space with the multi-generation. What gift can you give? And where I'm coming from is the gift of heritage, and heritage through food. Creating, this is one thing that is so conducive to cross-generation experiences, right? What grandmothers, hanging out with grandmas or granddads to cook, passes on heritage, passes on community, brings together people. And you can't eat and fight with somebody if you're having a good time across the table. So yeah, that totally relates, for as a straightforward gift. Of course, I love traveling as well, but even in these COVID times, what do you do immediately after the, the initial hugs and kisses? Is I come from a Chinese Asian background, so what comes after the first hello is have you eaten? And I think that happens in a lot of cultures. The Italian culture, I have an aunt from a marriage who's Italian, and you cannot leave the house without a care package sort of like shoved into your hands. And those are precious times. So thank you. I'm trying to find out a little bit more by listening, to what this whole group conversation is. And I'm sorry about being late because I was just at the BNI meeting. We meet first thing on Wednesdays, and that's another area that I've been able to help some of my customers. I'm an independent consultant for Thermomix, but when I call and speak to my Thermomix, the food customers, I also say, how's business? How's the rest of your life doing? And is there anything else that I can offer that is not immediately what I do in my business, so that I can expand? Like, I know I have customers who are Pilates teachers, and like, who can I connect you with, right? So that we can help each other during COVID and any other time, really.
Mm-hmm. That's a great attitude. And I think that's one of the things that Randy shared yesterday was about, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Why not? How do you make them thirsty? And I think what you just said, as far as when you're dealing with customers, our conversation is between the travel and I think the customer service, but when you're working with people, just taking that moment to find out how they're doing, is not, they may or may not share all of it with you, but it's a consideration that they don't get very often. People just go right into the transaction. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for joining us. And again, I apologize to everybody for the late notice and for the look of the email. It's just we're having problems with Infusionsoft, and so we're going to work it out surely. So, but thank you for taking the time to join us. And Rosalind, good morning. How are you? Are you able to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Good morning, I'm Rosalind Butler. I'm with Savvy Women Entrepreneurs, and I am really enjoying some of the comments that Randy made. I have a 90-year-old mom, and when you mentioned taking some type of platoon blow up deal to the beach, so even people who can't walk on the beach could enjoy that setting. I've been thinking about putting together some kind of event for I have several friends that have parents 80s and above. So this would be a wonderful, awesome event to have, even if it was just at a park down near the marina. We have a park here in Los Angeles, Burton Chase Park, where they could just view the ocean and see the boats go by, and that would be something we could take for them to sit on and enjoy. If you have a picture of that, I would love to see what that looks like. Sounds like a great idea. You sound like a very caring, charismatic person when it comes to trying to touch people's hearts. And right now, most of these seniors have been inside so long and have been without family and friends. It's really a shame. And I think there should be something added to people's, time they've had to spend alone, get them some extra time out. Great idea. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for sharing. Thanks, Rosalind. Very thoughtful. Terry, good morning. How are you? Terry Jones. Give you a minute or so to unmute.
Oh,
There you go.
connected.
Did you have a race across the house?
No, I'm on my stationary bike.
Okay, good.
So I had it on the counter, so I had to get off to get back on.
Okay.
It's my usual workout time, but I wanted to definitely listen because I was so impressed with everything that Randy shared with me yesterday for my spa party. But my name, for those that I don't know, is Terry Jones. I'm a writer, real estate investor, podcaster, and a secret representative, which is products that come from the Dead Sea and nutritional supplements. And we've now added travel. So many things that Randi does is what our secret company does too.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us in spite of being in your exercise time. And I'm sure again, you and Randy, and now I encourage all of you to put your information in the chat and to connect. And that's part of what this is about, to be able to still walk away with a new connection, new friend, new client, and just a new idea. Senwi, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I am doing very well today. I am multitasking. There is a lot of peripheral noise, so I'll make my introduction very brief and then I'll mute myself again. I manufacture organic cotton undergarments that's designed to promote safety by reducing falls and injuries while getting dressed with specialized fasteners. And I also write introspective leadership articles. I've often said that when I retire, I'm going to read children's books. And I love the passion of reading children's books because I get to read books, encourage children to use their imagination. I get to be the character that I'm reading. So I'm in costume and character. So I get to be a child all over again. So I've often said that is my passion when I retire.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like something that's very realistic. I was wondering if this was a chance to be a child again. So, perfect.
I was going to say, definitely connect with me, because I will do another whole meeting another time, maybe, if you'll indulge me again, to be able to teach about this new publishing technology. And not only will you be able to read things to children, but we'll be able to create them together for free.
Fantastic. All right.
That
Thank you.
sounds amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
thanks, Senwi. So going back to, I guess we were talking about what the difference between being customer service. When you made that statement the other day about, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So the idea is to make them thirsty. Can you elaborate on that? For those of us who are working with customers, working with building our businesses, even working with family members and other relationships.
For sure. I think it's I think it really goes hand in glove with what we were talking about, where the wow is. Again, old paradigms, like wow is because your expectations were met. This is really just another saying that really means the same thing in a different way. So everybody has always heard you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. They also say, you also hear sometimes you can lead a woman to thought, but you can't make her think. But, but really, there shouldn't be a struggle. I think one of the things, if anybody's done meditation or any kind of mindfulness, they understand that our goal is not to use words, and it's one of the things that really makes me upset, actually. People go, I've got cancer, I'm gonna fight it. Well, you don't understand how your body works, and your body works in a way that when you use those kinds of words, your mind hears everything that you say. So if you have negative, backwards things, or you're even sarcastic, if you say, all I want to do is get through today, that's your brain is going to say, oh, okay, she's got a low bar today, she just wants to get through, no problem, we'll put ourselves on cruise mode. Compared to being in a different situation where you say, this is my intention today, and I'm going to do it. And so then it flows, because you're in harmony with what your brain and your gut. I mean, it's another whole discussion. Everybody thinks that, your only brain is your brain, but in fact, your gut is, sometimes they're calling it your second brain, but in many ways, it's actually your first brain, because your gut sends more than double the messages to your brain then your brain sends to your gut. So when you say, I feel it in my gut, you know, all of these kinds of things all lead back to being authentically you, allowing the process and not fighting it. So when you say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, the trick is not to go like this and drag the horse into the water. You don't have to do that. What you need to do is give them a little salt, make them think that they're thirsty. Give them something that, and then the horse, he's going to lead you to the water. You don't even have to lead them to the water because they're thirsty. And that's what sales in its purest form should be: solution oriented, people first oriented, not transaction oriented. And then, so, you know, I mean, in the travel example part, you know, that's what these videos can do. That's what me in the pandemic has really done for us. Now people can travel the world from their home. So when I say, oh, I think you should go to such and such, or have you tried this, or, you know, they want to try a new kind of diving, or they want to get married somewhere and they're not sure where. We're able to give them those kinds of experiences. And then they already feel like they're part of it. They go, oh, that's the most gorgeous place. I want to get married on top of Haleakala at sunrise, you know, or I want to get married in scuba dive. I mean, I've had clients who have come to me at the last minute and say I did their honeymoon, and they were going to Italy, a number of different places. 3 days before, she called me up and she said, I'd like the Pope to bless us. Okay. I said, do you know that if you had thought about this earlier, that your archdiocese would be able to arrange that for you? She said, no, I didn't, but can you make it happen? So there are very strict rules about how you can, you know, so the Pope has an audience every Thursday, I think it is. It's been so long now, but, and that the requirements are, in order to be in the front rows and be blessed by them specifically, rather than just, you know, being able to go to the mass, you have to have been married within the last 2 weeks, and you have to come in your wedding clothes. So I was able to arrange everything, but they threw in the wedding clothes. And I said, and this was like literally just before her wedding. And I said, but you have to bring your wedding dress, and he has to bring his tux. She goes, my bags are packed. Like, we're going to the church, girl. You know, like, I can't do that. What's our next choice? So what I did was I said, okay, you're going to be there for, luckily they were there for a few days before. They were already in Italy. I set everything up. And when they arrived in Italy, they didn't go straight to their hotel. They went to a costume store, you know, and they were able to rent. I sent their measurements ahead of time, and they were able to rent a tuxedo and a wedding gown, not her wedding gown, but it was a wedding gown. And they were able to be blessed by the Pope. So,
Wow.
so when I say no is not in my vocabulary, if it's safe, legal, and humanly possible, people call me up and they go, I hear that you're a miracle worker. Then I know I'm in trouble, because they've already tried everybody else they know, looked it up on the internet, and tried 3 suppliers directly themselves. Then they come and go, I hear you're a miracle worker.
No pressure, no pressure. I would love to get some audience interaction, and I want to be able to launch from we're all in business, and we all have something that we're selling or offering right now. So let's think about our capstone, what we're offering. How can we phrase it? Like you used to say, give the horse some salt and make them feel thirsty. I would love to hear what the ladies can apply in their business, as far as, again, whatever they're selling. For example, if you're selling a mastermind, and Dawn is, let's put our thinking caps on. How can you approach it where your clients are looking for your solution? And like, even if it's just one line or one word, Terry, Francis, Barbara, Jenny, let's just kind of play with that for a moment, or reach out to you, Randy, and have your feedback on how we could rephrase that. Because I think that would be a great teaching moment for us to walk away with.
I have one for my animal communication I've used since the beginning.
Okay.
It's the title of my first book, What Do Your Pets Want You to Know?
So when you say that question, people think, okay, what does my pet want me to know? Then they automatically going to say, can you find out what my pet wants me to know? Is that how that works for you?
Exactly.
Nice, nice. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Who else has one they can share? I know we have to think. I'm trying to think of mine. I'm looking for investors for a project. I'm thinking about, it's a great opportunity. I'm trying to take the transaction part of it because I do want it to be, people that I know, like, and trust to be part of this. So I'm thinking, so keep going. Who else? Rosalind, Barbara, Jenny, Terry, Dawn. Let's play with this for a moment. And if you have suggestions for somebody else, or send me. So
So SALT represents them coming to you. Is that correct?
Yes, them realizing that they want, like for the horse, making sure the horse is thirsty, so it wants to go to the water. You don't have to, take the water. Her example, not taking, you take the horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So reversing that so that you do something or give or say something to this horse that makes them thirsty, and then you don't have to make them drink. You know what I mean?
Mine could be insurance, secure your parents' future. Does that make sense?
What's the first part of it? I heard the parents.
Secure your parents' future. In other words, if you are the adult child of an aging parent and you don't want to have to come out of pocket for their care later on, wouldn't it make perfect sense that you would get them a policy that would take care of their long-term care, or
Yeah.
things that are going to be on the horizon? What would be, Randy, a good way of saying that?
Yeah, because that's definitely a good solution for us.
Because a lot of people I know are paying upwards of $7,000 a month,
Right.
to have a parent taken care of.
So I think I would turn it around on its head, and I would say, how many years have your parents taken care of you? Isn't it time that you made sure someone took care of your parents with you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice, nice.
Great.
That resonate with you, Rosalind?
Yes, it does.
And trust me, take every moment you can. My mom passed away at 93 years old. So having the time and having lost this time, it just, as I said, that's why people are all of a sudden, wanting to do more things. And that really should be everybody's priority. But it's doing it in a really meaningful way. Because look, at the end of the day, nobody says on their epitaph, I wish I had spent more time at the office, and you can't take it with you. And so I think that really value in life, it doesn't come from cash in the bank. It comes from time well spent. That's your real currency. And so part of that currency in your case is ensuring that the person who invested in you, that you're investing and making sure that your parents are going to get the best dividend. That's a real investment and a dividend that you can feel proud of for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter how many plaques you have or anything else. What really matters is, are you taking care of everybody that you can? And are they living their life in dignity when you have the opportunity to be able to help them, or to figure a way to be able to help them? Because we don't all, we don't all live in the same city anymore. I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. My parents lived in New York, and my brother lives in California. I mean, this is the longest I've never not been on an airplane that I could ever remember in my life.
Great, thank you. Who else? Jenny, Randy, Terry. Jenny, Terry. Who else? Francis. Well, Francis shared. Senwi, Janice.
Come on, Barb, speak up.
Barbara. You said you have art to sell or something of that type. So how would you present it to us, and how can we resonate with that?
Unmute, unmute. Barbara, unmute. Unmute, Barbara.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I'm looking at that. Okay. I'm looking at, I am developing a framework to set up a batik studio, and one where I could also do ikebana floral art. There are two things that are not surprisingly prevalent on the island that I'm spending my time on, which is Vancouver Island and Gabriola Island. And what's come up for me, and I think it's very helpful using the internet, is just put out what you do anywhere you can. Like now I'm getting, I said, gee, I live in this community. Let's add the word art to it and see what comes up. And then lo and behold, I'm finding a group of people who share this like studio, workshop, whatever for a measly $50 a month. And I don't even know if it's going to work. But guess what? I'm going to go to their meeting tonight at 7:00. Okay. And when I go to that meeting at 7:00, I'm going to say what I like. And when you say what you like, they're often like-minded people. I think that's the whole key, is to put yourself there. Now, I'm a spiritual psychotherapist, and I do this also part-time, okay? I have a reading I'm giving tomorrow for an hour. One of the things that I notice there is I'm always where I'm supposed to be when I least expect it. And I think that comes from just putting yourself in a position almost that you're vulnerable and that you need to fill a void, and the void is about to be captured and something's going to go into it. So you create a context of workability and a context of potential and a context of, gee, I'm going to have it all. And then just sit back and kind of, I'm in a sit back stage now. I'm going to see which one of these I want, instead of going searching, rushing, running, because I'm not good at that. I forgot that I'm not good at that. Sitting around with COVID made me, I took on other huge responsibilities, like bringing up a new teenager and stuff all of a sudden, my grandchild, and other stuff, which is wonderful. But now that COVID's over, now that I can create a new context of workability, and it has to be in a world that works with everybody and for everybody, and that we could all enjoy the art that I create, because I don't need to work. I want to put out what my passion is. I've known Randi for 49 years now, and she does put out her passion, let me tell you. That's why we're friends, because every once in a while something like this comes up, and I'm supposed to be in this little group today. I only decided at 5 to 9 to do this. So, I mean, it's like that. She's part of in the context stuff. And I think you need to also surround yourself with people that know you can do it. People that don't sit back and go, oh, that's nice, but oh, Barbara, you'd be so good at that. That's so great. Why don't you? And I said, well, if you could think of something to add to it, you're creative, just let me know. And that's where it's at. This is why we're here today with this little round robin sharing, is because the numbers, the creativity in this room is wonderful. And that's what we all need. We need a creative outlook so we can create a context where that salt is given out and or little crumbs are being laid around you, and then somebody wants to gobble them up, and there you are.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. So, Randy, we have 2 minutes left. I wanted to make sure there was not one more person that had one line about how they would present their product, program, or service for sale. And I need the opportunity to give you one line back on, like we did with Rosalind. Does anyone have one thing that they want to share before we close out? Yes, Terry.
I have one. Are you tired of carrying around the dead? And when I mean the dead, I'm talking about your dead skin. And so many times people don't realize that their skin needs to be exfoliated, and they just instead just keep washing it as opposed to getting rid of that dead skin.
Can I say something to that?
Yes, hey, that's what we're
Having
looking
been to
for.
the Dead Sea also, actually, I mean, it is an approach, but I think personally, what I would rather say is, do you know that your body renews itself like X number of cells, or I mean, because we shed our skin all the time. And so we're renewing our cells. They die and they're renewing every day without us thinking about it, without doing anything. So you can, I would say, you know, something like, are you you know, how to be a great partner for your personal regeneration, you know, or something like that, or, you know, really, but keeping it, one of the things that I would like to say to everybody is just please try to refrain from using negative. A lot of people will start with don't do this, or you can't do this, question mark, blah, blah, blah. Again, it's that subconscious in your mind. Always phrase everything from the positive. So say, you know, work on it from what you're a solution. So why, I know why I have a bunch of Dead Sea products myself here. I have the salt, the Dead Sea salt, and then you put the moisturizer on your hands. It's incredible. And the Dead Sea salts for the bath and everything else. So, I mean, they're really wonderful products, I will say. People come from all over, and that's why, you know, that's why they're so popular and why they travel so well. So just focus on being solution oriented. Hi, Janice. Focus on being solution oriented rather than people don't want to hear about dead. They want to hear about how to become more alive. So I would reverse around there. Does that help you?
Thank you. Excellent.
I'm sorry for laughing. But that is a good. It's already the Dead Sea that the product comes from, and then you gonna tell us about
Can I just say, as a hospice worker, that term, that phrase would be very, very difficult for a lot of people, especially as we're coming out of a pandemic, because I think we're forgetting that we're still losing a lot of lives relative to COVID. And so the whole notion of carrying around the dead, even after the one has lost a loved one, there's still a lot of pain in their heart. So I think to find something that's a little more upbeat.
I've got one.
Yeah, okay, perfect. I just wanted to share that.
Very good point. I've got one. Glowing is knowing. How you like that one? In other words,
Okay.
yeah, glowing is knowing. You know what to put on it to make it glow, right? Or let your inner beauty show through, shine. You know, because everything now in products is about inner beauty coming out. The skin is glowing. People are peeling off the epidermis to get down to that second layer so that it can glow through. So I think pushing that, even your hands, you know, because they're out a lot, and they're talking about putting Botox or whatever this stuff is in the hands to get rid of age spots and all of that. So it's trying to come out and glow, right?
You know that Botox was invented by an ophthalmologist. He was actually my client, and she was actually my client. It was a husband and wife, and they were both ophthalmologists. And what happened was they were working with ticks and things in the eye, and they were using Botox there. And it was then that they realized that when they were injecting in the forehead, that it made everybody's line smooth out. And that's actually how Botox started being used for beauty.
Wow,
Interesting.
that's really interesting.
So Randy, I acknowledge your time. I know you have another appointment thereafter. What would you like to leave our guests with today? What final thoughts would you like to share?
Well, first and foremost, gratitude. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for people who literally, I sent this message out 10 minutes before. What I would love is a copy of the recording if possible, so that we can share the love at some point. For me, for me personally, I'm very multifaceted, and to me, each one of you, I felt a connection point with in different ways, whether I've known you or not. The people who know me know I've been a mentor, and I'm a connector. And so what I'm looking for within the context of what we've talked about, in a term of flow, is what I'm looking for are people who want to be collaborative experts, who have an expertise, who have a following, and who would like to partner with us and create events just like what you said, Desiree. Exactly. You're the perfect example of, and we could either do a one-off event, or we can talk about making you one of our collaborative experts, because you certainly are, as far as networking and other things are concerned. And if you go to the website, the p2plife.com, and you go to About Us, we have our our specialists, and we're always looking for more experienced travel specialists. So, and we try to be as diverse as we possibly can. And I just, so anybody who's interested in working in that capacity, or if you know somebody who has a T1 kid, please share the information. I'm pretty good at answering, and I'm pretty accessible on most social media, and I'll try to be here more. And if Desiree will have me, I'd be happy to come back at another time with more than 12 hours notice.
Absolutely. And I thank you so much for being that flexible and sharing with us. And I do want to plan a cruise for cause. So I think next year, you can tell us. I will connect on that and find out what time next year, but it's not too early to plant the seeds. And I just think that that's something that we've always done, and we'd like to be able to start doing it again and have fun in the process. So,
and hopefully I'll get to meet, as soon as the border opens, I'll be in the LA area. So hopefully I'll get to meet you. Yeah. And if I could, I would come down this weekend and see you in Seattle, because that's where half of my kids are. So, but anyway, safe travels back, and thank you guys all, really. This is a perfect example of flow.